how we approach the connected community is the subject of our next conversation. And I want to bring from CPS Energy, Jonathan Tijerina up to kick this conversation off. Jonathan, everybody come on up.
This should be fun. Brian, I'm going to have you sit on this way. This way I can go left to right here and kind of treat it like a, look at this. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. I should start off with a little bit of a joke, but I'm not very good. But I will say, I guess my one day of marketing at last year's City of the Future worked. They got me on stage for like 5 minutes, and I said, I want more time. And so in return, they said, hey, you want to be a moderator? And here I am now. Uh-oh.
How far behind are we now?
So again, good morning. I'm happy to be here this morning with four extremely talented individuals. I'll start on my right here. Vivian Bouet, who is the Chief Information Officer at CPS Energy. We have Sree Pulapaka, who is the Chief Innovation Officer with San Antonio Water System. To my left, I have Steve Young, not the Hall of Fame quarterback, but a Hall of Famer in our minds, who is the Vice President of Technology and Innovation for VIA Metropolitan. And last but not least, to my far, far left, Brian Dillard, the Chief Innovation Officer for the City of San Antonio. And so if we could, and again, I'm going to be kind of shifting here back and forth, but if we could maybe start with Vivian. What I wanted to do with our opening question is if you could give a little background about who you are. What I think is interesting about innovation and connecting and improving the customer experience is that there really is not a one solution. Everyone's backgrounds kind of come from different perspectives, and everyone's backgrounds is what leads us to having this type of conversation. So if we could, Vivian, take a couple minutes to introduce yourself, give a little background, and what you do.
Sure. Thank you, Jonathan. I'm Vivian Bouet, and many of you know me. I know there's a lot of CPS Energy folks in here, and there's a lot of technology folks as well. But I hail from a place that a lot of people would not think I would come from. I came from Germany. Who would have guessed that? So I was born in Germany, and then somehow found myself on my way to West Africa, then all the way to New York, and then to Chicago, and eventually I got here to Texas. And through that journey, there's a saying that Texas folks have, I may not have been born here, but I got here as fast as I could. And so my background has been very diverse. I started off in technology, have been in technology, strategy, worked for a variety of companies. My last 15 years prior to coming to CPS Energy, I was in the Chicago market and primarily leading strategy, technology, innovation, a lot of those kinds of initiatives, all the way to digital transformation at my last organization. And then the final thing I'll say is, in the last year and more, at CPS Energy, I've been working with the very, very talented team of leaders with that organization around leading the technology organization and really focus on how we can enable and bring technologies to better the lives of the community, of the citizens of San Antonio.
Perfect. Sree?
Yeah, sure. So this is Sree Pulapaka, and firstly, in a true innovative fashion, you see that I have used my selfie instead of a headshot. So I was born in India, and I went to school here at Texas Tech, graduated from Texas Tech with a master's, and then I worked in a number of different areas, companies, private and public as well. Worked in the government as well as a consultant and also as an employee of the government organization. So I've got diverse experience just like Vivian has. Really, truly blessed to be part of the San Antonio Water System. Prior to joining San Antonio Water System, I was the Chief Innovation Officer at Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority. Wow, I forgot in 4 years already. But I was responsible for bringing in innovation into the aviation sector and airport sector, primarily to drive revenue and through a number of means, digitization, analytics, So I was responsible for that, and then came over to San Antonio Water System, and it's been a blast. Been here for 4 years. An amazing organization to work for, really agile on its feet. We were able to do a lot of good things that I believe we will continue in the future.
Yeah, in talking to Sree in years past, I think one of the things I'm most appreciative of is if you've ever been in the Washington, D.C. airport, you know now you can order and play games from the touchscreen menu, and I believe, Sree, you were pretty instrumental in getting that brought to the D.C. airport, so thanks for being here this morning. Steve, interesting background, a little bit of education, kind of now doing transportation. Can you maybe give a little highlight of that?
Yeah, sure. Steve Young with Via Metropolitan Transit. Thanks to everyone for coming today. It's really exciting to be here. It's a really unique thing I think that we have going on here in San Antonio. So I got to San Antonio long ago, if you can imagine, over 30 years ago. I know you can't tell that, but I came down to go to school here at Trinity, and I'm a proud alumnus of it, and have stayed here pretty much ever since. And I started off as a teacher in Northside ISD for a number of years and started working my way kind of during those budding years of technology into a technology role. And I spent about a little less than a decade over at Judson ISD as their chief technology officer. So came to VIA, kind of a big industry shift, which was really fun and really challenging. It interested me because it seems like a really pivotal time for our city in terms of transportation and growth, and a really cool intersection because I think education and transportation are two of the most critical foundational needs of a city and its citizens, and both really are the great equalizers in helping us bring our population and give them opportunities. So for me, it really was kind of a natural jump from education into transportation.
Fantastic. Brian, same question? A little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the role for, it'll be a year as Chief Innovation Officer on March 1st. So Eric and I will be having a party together. It's just us two. I've been at the city for about a year and a half, almost. So I'm still trying to figure this stuff out a little bit. But before that, I did 10 years Air Force. I did cybersecurity while I was in the Air Force, and then got out in 2012 and did private cybersecurity for about 5 years for a company here locally. Cybersecurity was great, but I noticed at the end of my 9 to 5, I would go to board meetings or commission meetings, and I would do a lot of community city development work with the city of San Antonio. So when the Smart City Administrator position went posting in midway through 2018, I said, well, why not get paid for doing all this work? That's pretty much what it is. I didn't know what a smart city anything was when I came in, which is okay. I think that was a good understanding. But my team here, we all came in about the same 2 weeks, and those are the first smart city titled positions within the city of San Antonio. So to say it's been a whirlwind of a year, it's definitely been interesting. But I'm definitely happy to be a part of this. Thank you to Z Prime and CPS for hosting, and I'm very honored to be up here on this distinguished panel.
Thank you, Brian. So actually, I'm going to go back to you because the first question, people are actually probably curious. Here you have all these partners up here. You heard a little bit about the innovation zones from the fireside chat earlier with Paula and City Manager Walsh. Can you speak a little to what Smart SA is, how the partners play a role, and almost like the who, what, and why of what Smart SA is? Yeah,
absolutely. So Paula says it a lot, and I'll reflect that, which is, you can go farther together. You can go faster by yourself, but you definitely go farther together. And that's really what the Smart SA partnership is about. So it's a partnership of 9 municipal agencies, 3 of them being CPS, SAWS, as well as VIA, and the city of San Antonio. But the partnership is all about piloting emerging technologies and utilizing kind of interesting data sets throughout those 3 innovation zones, so the Medical Center downtown and Brooks. Now, those were designated by council in 2017. The Smart SA partnership was probably solidified early 2018, I'll say. But some projects coming out of that show kind of that collaborative effort is our interlocal data sharing agreement, which 8 of the 9 partners have signed off on and are currently utilizing that to share data, which is a very interesting concept for city government. So one of the things that we try to push from our team and through the partnership is this idea of bridge building, making sure that you're not operating in silos. We see a lot of municipal agencies, we see a lot of city governments that work in silos, even within their own organization. So Smart SA Partnership is about making sure that we drop the egos when we come into the room, we learn lessons from each other, and we execute with each other rather than, doing the redundant stuff and talking around each other.
Common theme that I hear is the stakeholder or community process engagement, not only for, with our customers or constituents in your case, but also from a perspective of our actual organizations. And so Vivian, if I can go to you, under Paula's leadership at CPS Energy, we've really enforced this people-first mindset around, our customers, our employees, and community. When it comes to tech, though, how do you put that into motion, and how have you begin to implement that change, and ultimately, how does that impact our customers?
That's a great question, Jonathan. When we look at people first, we really do live it and breathe it, and it's a state of being for us here at CPS Energy. And so when we talk about technology and you talk about digital transformation as one example, digital transformation at its heart is really about the customer. It's around people and how you really understand those customers. And so we look at it from the perspective of when we focus on our customers, we want to understand what kind of customers we have and have a very good understanding with them. And people drive that. Our team members drive that, who are working to pull all of that together, leveraging technology. But the main thing there is taking people, working for people with the use of technology. I'll ask a question of the audience. How many people have ever shopped somewhere, done a search on Google, and then you go to FaceTime or your social media of type, and that thing you were shopping for becomes the ad that they've now put in front of you? Right? So this is all around taking a look at people and trying to customize an experience for you or something that they think is important to you and putting it in front of you. Now, CPS Energy, we strive not to be creepy. I'm just going to call it that. But what we're trying to do, though, very seriously, is really have a better understanding of our customers and engage with them in the way that they prefer using things like digital technology. And so that's one example is through customer segmentation, using our advanced, partnering with our customer success group and advanced analytics group. Other things that we're doing as well is when we look at predictive outages, trying to understand, can we predict when an outage would happen, and can we deploy the right teams or the right equipment there to reduce that? And a lot of that is focused on digital and data, but at the end of that outage is a customer, and so we're focused on reducing that so that the impact to the customers is as small as possible, and that we are communicating with them again as we build our products in the way that they want. I think there are other products I can go on and on forever, but I'm going to pause there, but hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. So I think some underlining themes there are around the improved customer experience, promoting a new efficiency that ultimately is going to improve the way we interact with folks. And so if I shift here to my left now, Steve, VIA has the Vo Reimagine campaign that's ongoing right now. Can you elaborate on what that is for the folks that may not know what that actually entails? And then also talk a little bit about how technology and innovation is really a lot of it at the root of what you guys are trying to accomplish from that.
Thank you, Jonathan. So Vo Reimagined, if the audience doesn't know, it's our kind of mid-range plan for addressing transportation needs and mobility in San Antonio in the next decade or so. So kind of a little background I think is probably really important. Obviously, everyone knows about the growth story in San Antonio, right? We're growing by leaps and bounds. You don't have to drive too far to figure that out. But one of the challenges we've faced at VIA is really funding compared to other Texas cities. All the other major metros in Texas are funded with a full penny sales tax to transportation. That's on top of their economies. So if you consider San Antonio's economy with Via's half-cent sales tax, the piece of pie or the amount of funding that we put into public transportation here is relatively low in comparison to those other cities. Certainly on a per capita basis, it's very low. So that sets us up with some challenges right away. So Vo Reimagine is really trying to address a lot of the needs that we're identifying in San Antonio. We've had public outreach for the last couple of years, talking to citizens, trying to figure out what people want, getting their advice. And Vo Reimagine really is a set of 3 core goals or legs of a strategy that we're putting together. One of them is rapid transit or better bus. So we've already started that in partnership with the city. So thank you very much to the city of San Antonio and the partnership funding that we've got from the city. We've had very strong ridership increases where we've made buses easy and frequent. People know they can just go out the door, get on the bus. They don't have to check schedules, check their watch or anything like that. They can just go and get on the bus knowing that's going to arrive. So that's one leg of what we want to do on a grander scale than what we've done so far at the city. The next leg of that plan is advanced rapid transit, which is really looking at identifying key corridors in the city and putting high-speed transportation into those corridors, wheel-based transportation, because there's been some challenges with trains and rail in the past in San Antonio, but really looking at a way that we can move vehicles as fast as we can, faster than cars, through the city, get people on and off those vehicles really quickly. That could be a huge technology play right there. So that's a huge portion right there. It's equivalent of really building a metro system in San Antonio. Sure. And really identifying that for the future, how we're going to move people quickly. We know the roads are going to get worse, right? So they're not going to get better. So how can we move people quicker? And the last leg of that is our smart transit. So that's obviously another key technology area, different things we're doing in that area between our mobile app, Via Link, which we can talk about some more if we want to delve into that a little bit. So we got a lot going on in the smart transit area. I think it's a huge opportunity as we talk about collaboration among these partners. I think there's a huge opportunity for all of us to work together on some of these things.
Very good. And Sree, if I can round up this question with you as well. So SAWS, the last 2 or 3 years, you guys have been having a pretty robust conversation with the community. The Vista Ridge project, in addition to making interface upgrades to your web portals and making the experience just a better experience for your customers. Similar question: what is SAWS' perspective on this, and what are you all doing to help make a more connected perspective?
Thank you, Jonathan. I think it's well along the lines of what the previous speakers have said. At SAWS, we do believe that we have to enhance our customer experience, not just purely from a customer perspective, but also to make our operational efficiency better. So we have rolled out our customer engagement portal in the last few years, in the last couple of years. That provides our customers a seamless experience to log in and be able to do a lot of things in a self-service mode rather than having to call our call center. That has dramatically reduced the number of calls into our call center as well, increased our operational efficiencies. So things like move-ins and move-outs, as well as questions about the bills, a lot of these things they can do it themselves. Our next version of that, as we move into the future, is going to be centered around more a commercial type customer with multi-unit dwellings, but also we are trying to roll out what we call as enterprise virtual assistants, which would hopefully, sitting on an AI-based platform, would help a lot more of the operational efficiencies going forward. We've also rolled out a number of these B2B microsites that has not just looked at our customers as residents, but also customers who are in the commercial sector. Yeah, so like our developers,
business to business.
The business to business portals for our developers, they're now able to do a lot of things that used to take days and weeks. Now they are able to do it in a self-service mode, including counter permits, including being able to ask for a meter. All of these have really helped in increasing not just the experience per se, but also the efficiency. We are also in the middle of a large project, a 10-year project, to standardize on our SCADA systems. So we have, it's actually a 10-year project with 11 distinct projects underneath them, and we are halfway through that. We've increased our broadband optimization around the city. We've increased it. We've changed from serial to IP network, and we've made from 4 to 40 towers as our broadband grows and optimized. So we are working on a lot of these things, along with affordability programs, making life easier for our residents to be able to apply for affordability through our microsites.
Sure.
Just processes that used to take days and weeks are now being reduced to more at a speed that the citizens expect of services from us.
So another theme that I'm hearing is obviously the information and data that's being collected, right, to figure out how we in our businesses decide to implement new initiatives or strategies. Brian, as the innovation officer of the city, you all are out there gaining some valuable information from our customers and our citizens. Recently you just completed the digital divide assessment. Could you speak a little to that and kind of give us a sneak preview to some of the highlights that you'll be sharing with council in the coming weeks?
No.
That's not on the script, Brian.
So yes, we did finish the survey phase of our digital divide assessment on February 8th, and we'll be reporting out to council April-May timeframe once we have the full report to report out. And so I'll start off with the reason why we're doing this. So as the Office of Innovation, as we talk about smart cities and all this tech stuff, it all focuses in on this, a lot of it focuses in on this digital realm. And understanding that that's going to expand rapidly, and it's already expanding rapidly, and it's leaving a lot of our citizens behind. Our team didn't feel like that it was the right thing to do to ideate and execute on all this technology, knowing that at least a quarter of our residents don't have access to that digital space. So the digital divide assessment is all about identifying what that looks like in the city of San Antonio before we try to strategize around a solution. Mm-hmm. So we didn't want to work in that vacuum of information. So basically we'll be reporting out with a report card for each council district. And each of those report cards will report on 3 components. One, broadband infrastructure, so understanding where internet is and isn't available throughout the city of San Antonio, throughout those distinctive communities. The second is access to devices, so knowing that I can provide free Wi-Fi to communities, but if they don't have devices to access them, or if a student only has a smartphone to do his homework on, that's a huge barrier. And then the third component of that is digital literacy, so understanding I can provide free Wi-Fi, I can give you a free laptop, but if you don't know how to use it or what to use it for, then none of it really matters. So that's the report card. We'll have some preliminary strategies attached to that, some community-focused strategies, so within each district, but I didn't want to provide strategies without working with the community as a whole. So we're providing some preliminary strategies, and then we'll work forward on some solutions, working with the partners, obviously. This is also a partnership, so this digital divide assessment is actually a partnership between the City of San Antonio, Bexar County, and UTSA. So it's a really exciting project. I think it's going to be our most impactful project. My team will probably argue in some respects, but I think it's an amazing project.
Can you actually elaborate a little bit on what that engagement looked like with the community, how you went out there? Because I think there's some interesting things from that learning experience.
Right. Yeah, I got a lot of questions about, well, how'd you get the word out there about the surveys? It's online only, right? And no, it was absolutely not online only. So our intent, our goal, based on UTSA's need for validation of the data, our statistics, was 4,500, and we actually hit close to 8,500 responses during that survey phase. Now that was a 2-month period, and kudos to my team for hitting the ground running. We did over 200 hours of engagement. I think we did like 62 different events where we showed up at. But it was a lot of groundwork to do that. And the whole point of that, after our first month, we noticed out of the 10 districts, our top 3 most well-off districts typically reported the highest, and we expected that. So we pivoted after that first month to really focus in on our lower-served communities that we knew were digitally disconnected, and we did a lot of in-person events there as well. And so we actually changed the trajectory at the end of the survey responses, and our lowest served communities actually turned out to be the highest reporting districts.
Yeah, and I'll actually give ourselves a plug, and Sree as well too. We actually partnered up with the Innovation Office and made our walk-in, our payment centers available so that they would be able to participate and have conversations. And I think you all were able to utilize those facilities 3 or 4 times throughout the process, which speaks to the increase in the districts that some otherwise are sometimes
Very huge.
underserved.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for that.
a great cross-functional collaboration. There's a buzzword in there. We'll see if you capture that later. Steve, you mentioned something interesting that I'm really excited about, that I've actually used now the 2 times, I'll be honest, only the 2 times that I've ridden a Via bus in the last 6 or 7 months or so, but it's the Via app. Again, can you just speak to it, give people what it is and what it's not and what it may be in the future?
Yeah, it's a great question. We have an app we launched just a couple years ago at Via called Via Go Mobile, and at its core, it's a payment app. It's a way to buy and pay for tickets, and we are proud to say we just sold our millionth pass this past month, so really exciting to turn that milestone in the city and see people adopting the app. We're seeing very steady growth in use of the app. We know that upward trajectory is going to continue. It's convenient, it's fast, and it's really easy. Now, in context, though, I think it's really interesting when Brian's talking about the digital divide, and we're all trying to look at that here in San Antonio. That's a very real thing. And to make a smart city, we've got to be inclusive of everyone. And we know our app doesn't necessarily do that for us, right? At Via, we surveyed our customers last year. 82% of our customers have a smartphone. But that's not necessarily a smartphone with internet access, right? Some people get the phone, but they're not paying for the data plan around that phone. Now, we are the city's, I think, largest provider of free internet access. We have about 700 plus sites with roaming the city with free internet. So we're happy to do that. But if you're sitting at home, you can't really chase the bus around and get the free Wi-Fi, right? You got to get on the vehicle to really take advantage of that. So that's a challenge for us with the app, because the app is really great for paying. But if you are someone that doesn't have internet access, that's a challenge. The other half of that is banking and access to banking services. So a lot of San Antonio, I think the last numbers I saw, and I don't know how accurate they are to date, was like 40% of San Antonians are underbanked or unbanked, which means they don't have access to the same financial services that all of us do. They may not have credit cards. Well, right there, what good is our app if you don't have a credit card, right? So that's a huge challenge we're trying to address. One of the things we really want to look at in the future is cash payment. Now, cash as a transit rider is kind of an annoying thing. You see the person, you're sitting on the bus and 5 people get on the bus and start dropping pennies into the till, trying to feed the crumpled up dollar bill. It's 110 degrees and sweaty outside and all the papers get jammed. And there's huge challenges with cash on vehicles. So what we want to start doing is, we know we have a huge customer base with smartphones. We want to look at how do we leverage cash payment with smartphones. Now, you're all probably looking at me like I'm crazy, and I am. Right? You can't feed a dollar bill into your smartphone. But what we're actually researching is technology to go ahead and leverage a vast retail network in San Antonio where a customer can walk in, show a barcode off their phone, it's scanned, they give the cashier $20, and that's immediately loaded into their account on their phone, and then they can use that to pay for transit. So that's just one of the things we're looking at in the app, but it's really kind of diving down into that need that we see with our customer base, that we're highly focused on the needs of our customers, and that's one we think has a really important way for us to convert people to digital. As we move into more rapid transit, it's hard to be rapid with cash, and so we got to look at ways for us to address that.
Thanks, Steve. So I'm leaning forward because I can't see the clock, but I think it says we got about 13 minutes. So I'm gonna offer one more question, and then I'm gonna see if our audience members might have any questions for our folks up here on the panel. But Sree, I'll end with you before we open it up to the audience. You mentioned a buzzword that stood out to me, so B2B, right? Focusing on our small business customers, realizing that when you're a small business owner, you're not only your CEO, you're the CFO, you're the CIO, you got everything from facilities on. What is SAWS doing to interact with small business customers, and how is technology maybe helping along with those lines for a connected city?
Sure. So as far as small business customers go, we kind of look at our commercial customers in totality. Like I mentioned, we have rolled out a number of these microservices for these commercial customers. Chief among them is a way to actually look for locates. One of the things that happens is that when people try to dig around an area and they try to hit a utility, they need to know where the utilities are located. And it used to take a long process for that locates request to be made to SOS, and then SOS had to respond. We have automated that. We have put all our infrastructure locate maps out on the website for people who have registered and who can now submit an e-services request, and they can actually go in and using a GIS tool just draw a buffer around where they want to construct, and then that would automatically generate a locate, and that would that in turn would give them an electronic file of everything that's buried in there. So we've tried to automate these processes, and again, the other thing that I was talking about is we have a lot of requests for meters from developers, and it used to take a long time for these to come actually onto our offices, come to the counter, do a paper application. We have automated that. We have digitized that. And through these digital transformations that we keep talking about, we don't really look at an entire spectrum that says, we've digitally transformed ourselves. But these small, unique wins gives us confidence that we are on the right track. And we see tangible results with operational efficiencies. And that gives us the impetus to invest more in these. So that's the kind of direction we are headed towards.
So with that, I do see that we have a couple minutes left on the panel. I believe there are members from Z Prime that are walking around with handheld mics. If there's some questions, I see one up here in the front already, dead centers, and then I see one to my right. So if we could help get some mics, we'll see how many questions we can maybe get in here. Right next to you.
So I've got a question for you. So I see all these different programs going on, and I see a lot of partnerships with the city and with CPS, with the universities and larger organizations. But how can the small companies and how can the small businesses here in San Antonio be more involved in these partnerships and be tied into helping drive the innovation and drive these initiatives?
Yeah, so I can take that one. So yes, and honestly, over the last 2 years since before I got there, there's been a lot of work on figuring out the partnership as it is right now. So scaling it out is something that we are looking forward to doing. We're currently doing that with our R&D League, our research and development team underneath Office of Innovation. But with regard to the Smart SA partnership, I think our main focus is trying to understand how municipal agencies work with each other initially, because that alone has a lot of regulatory items that we have to focus on. So bringing in a private entity is very tough. Now, that's not to say we can't do that in another form or fashion. So we do have our CivTech SA program, which you guys have attended multiple, so thank you for your support. But the CivTech SA program is really the city's cooperation with Geekdom, our partnership with Geekdom, to identify ways that we can bring in that startup, that small business, that entrepreneurship into the fold of civic challenges to help us identify the solutions and then build off of there. And the overall intent is to build an economic development opportunity out of those civic challenges that we present to that startup community. So that is really the main front door for us right now, but that's not to say that will continue to only be the front door. I think we're still talking about how do we do that, but I think we want to become way more impactful on this kind of scoped in level before we start to expand to that range.
And then I would just add, from a CPS Energy perspective, come talk to us. We want to talk to as many people as possible, regardless of the size of the organization. The other thing is, I'll do a little plug for a panel later on today, but our Epicenter, which we have a partnership with, which is a local, I like to think of it as a local think tank that is moving the needle on getting startups to production. Kimberly Britton and her team do a fantastic job working with us and other partners, and that's another way to do it. So I would say there are some entry points into getting to the organization, and we are happy to meet with as many people as possible. And I would imagine Via and Saws share a similar mindset as well too.
We've been tasked by one of our, and Eric mentioned the Council Committee on Innovation Technology, we've been tasked by one of those members to be the facilitators of innovation for the city of San Antonio. So yes, absolutely. Right. The only way to enter is not just through Smart SA partnership or anything else. Definitely reach out to us individually. Yeah, sorry, thank you.
Up here to the left. All right.
Hi. I had a question, actually a couple. One, what are some of your thoughts to bridge that digital divide? And then the second is really, what type of future job opportunities do you see to support the smart city?
So to the right. Got it. All right. So maybe, Brian, if you could hit the digital divide portion, and then maybe Vivian, maybe about the workforce.
Yeah, sure. You want to talk about digital? All right. In terms of the workforce, it's a great question. You know, one of the great things about the economy right now is that we're seeing such a strong economy. But on the flip side of that, as a result of that, it's then putting a lot of pressure on getting talent and so on and so forth. So I think when it comes to the digital teams and how to get that, I think there's two pathways. One is we've got teams, very talented teams that we're working with right now, and what you want to do is you want to put together a really rich program of enrichment and upskilling where that makes sense. And so that's part of what we're doing. I'm partnering right now very closely with our HR team on how we can put together a program to ultimately identify the kinds of skill sets that we need and then focus on upskilling the skill sets within the teams that are there. As you think about, and remember, this is a set of technologies that is rapidly evolving, so you're going to you need to not just do it once, but you need to do it multiple times as you think about that evolution over time. The second part of that would also be is how you recruit slightly differently than you might have been doing before to attract the kind of talent that you will need ultimately to bring some of that experience from different industries or within the industry that you're in. And that's going to take multiple minds to come to the table. And an example of that, two examples, is again working with our teams at CPS Energy to really workshop that. And we did recently, I would say about 2.5, maybe 3 weeks ago, we workshopped how we can think about recruiting differently and to target the talent. And then I'm going to put a little bit of a shout out just recently, and some of us were in there. Steve, I know you were there, and some of the other civic partners. In December, we held a CIO holiday workshop. So we didn't just want to have a holiday, but we worked it. And one of the things that all of us recognized was recruiting is going to be a big challenge for all of us together. And so we were putting ideas out there, and Steve, feel free to jump in here. We're putting ideas together that said, how can we show that not only are the individual agencies great places to work, but when you come together collectively as municipal agents, as a municipal governments coming together, that it's a great place to come and work, and that as a way to attract talent to come to San Antonio and to CPS Energy, and so some of the other agencies. So there's many ways to look at digital and how you get that talent, but those are two of the key ways. And I'll turn it over to Brian or Steve. Did you want to talk about the workshop?
Yeah, just real quick. I mean, we've certainly done things like internships and had really great success on that. I'm actually just going to kind of just go on a side note here. One of the things I think that's really exciting in San Antonio, I just joined, and I'll lay it out there, I just joined the SAISD Foundation Board. And one of the things really exciting with that district, they just held their State of the District event last week. San Antonio's faced immense challenges in the inner city. One of the highest, rates of poverty, 56% single-family homes. The challenges are immense. San Antonio ISD is doing amazing things for workforce development. You have the advent of things like Cass Tech High School and a lot of different models throughout the city. I mean, they have now raised the rating of their school district to a B rating, the same as Northside and Northeast, right here in just a matter of a couple of years. And I think it's really important that we look at the very foundational level of workforce development in San Antonio, because that's where this city's growing, and we need to focus on that, partner with universities. We're doing that at VIA as well. So I just looked at our numbers. We have a college pass program. So it helped college students move around city, get to internships. We have had over 300,000 rides since launch of that program, just digital rides through our app in the last 12 months. So really fantastic. I mean, there's lots of things we're all doing, but it's really exciting to see there's a lot of unique things going on here in San Antonio.
Yeah, the internship program is also a fantastic way. Get them on your team early, right? And create those opportunities within your organizations and let them expose the new talent coming into the workforce to the different sides of what you're trying to accomplish. And I think ultimately you end up in a place where you not only can pull from a seasoned pool of talented professionals, but also from those that are very willing and very interested in this digital space to contribute their talents as well.
Yep. And Brian, if you could wrap us up with this, around the digital divide.
Maybe I'll answer this quickly, and maybe we can have one more. So currently, state legislature in Texas prevents the city from providing municipal broadband internet. That's Texas. So a lot of other states don't have that restriction. So we're trying to figure out ways to work with that. So one of the conversations I'm having to have over the next month or two as the report is being developed is conversations with telecoms and ISPs to understand, okay, you're getting what you need and what you want. Now, what's the trade-off here when it comes to my residents that are unable to afford, some of your prices? So understanding that there's some subsidies. Right now, we're kind of in this situation of where we have to offer more carrots than sticks. We don't really have the authority here in the state of Texas as a city. And we're trying to understand, how do we find a solution past that? How do we be innovative about finding a solution when it comes to digital divide and the restrictions that we're underneath? That's something that we work with the partnerships as well as within the city of San Antonio, our public libraries. We got free Wi-Fi in all the parks, but definitely need to go past that and really get into the homes to understand that.
So I believe the first step to making a good panel is a panel that ends on time. And so we're going to wrap up there. So join me in thanking Vivian, Sree, Steve, and Brian. Representation of the great leaders and the great organizations that are coming together to work to solve for the future needs and making sure that San Antonio is not only a smart city, but a connected city. So thank you very much. Thank you.